All right, boys. It's a Saturday morning. It's the day before Halloween, as you all can see from our costumes. We got dressed up just for all of you. We got Captain America, we got Uncle Sam, and we got Opie from Sons of Anarchy. We're all here today to talk to you about some stuff, which we'll get into. But I would like to start with a personal story from this morning. So, last night I was kind of thinking about my day today and planning stuff out. And based on when we said we were going to record, which was 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. for Jared over there, I thought, man, I can get up and go to the gym today. And that didn't happen. And you know what? I don't feel bad about that. I've worked a lot of overtime at work. I've had a lot of side projects I'm working on. I'm studying to get a conductor at my job. And plus going to the gym pretty much almost every day. So I've had a lot going on. And I finally took a day. I took everybody's advice and took a day. Okay? So
You finally took a day.
I took a day.
Wow, I'm proud.
For just some time for me, and I don't think that's something I have to feel bad about. And that's what we're going to talk about today is the societal pressures to be productive all the time. One little disclaimer here, or two little disclaimers. Number one, we don't want this to be a, take time for yourself episode. We've talked about that a lot in the past. So we really want to look at why this is happening today. And disclaimer number two, we are not condoning being lazy either. We don't want you to be lazy, but we want you to kind of see why society has kind of pushed us to this always be productive kind of mindset. So, Jared, why don't you give us a start here? I know you said you might have some conflicting ideas, so let's hear it.
I don't know where to start. I guess, first of all, I think that it all comes down to what you think personally, your own personal goals. And I don't think that you should just listen to what society is saying. I'm not saying, don't pay attention to what's going on around you and don't be ignorant to that fact of just what everyone's doing. I mean, pay attention to that, of course, but ultimately doing what you think is right. We all have our own goals, right? So working in a capacity that gives you a chance to accomplish your goals in whatever time frame you give them. So
right. I was going to say, everyone has their own timelines too, right? It's like nobody is on the same path, so there's no timeline for you to achieve your goals that you should be trying to align with somebody else's. And a lot of people get in that mentality. It's like, oh, someone got their master's in 5 years, right? I don't know if that's possible. But that sets a standard in your head where it's like, oh, this person's doing better than me. I need to get to that level. Well, why? As they're doing their own thing. You have other circumstances. You don't have to force that on yourself.
Exactly. I think this was actually a great place to start for this episode too. That's a big part of it. What Joe just said is you kind of, again, you compare yourself to other people. And granted, social media, and again, I don't want to harp on social media because we've done that a lot in the past, but social media has a big part of that because you're constantly seeing what your peers are doing. You see what your friends are doing. You talk to your friends and they're like, oh, I just got this degree. I just did that. I just bought a new car. I bought my house. And, if you're not at that point, which I can even say I'm not at that point, and you can't let yourself feel left in the dust. You can't force yourself, to speed up your timeline because of what the other people around you are doing. And then just one more quick point though, as far as that goes, I think part of what you see online, you have a lot of these guys and girls who are entrepreneurs, right? And they come on and they tell you, you have to grind 100% of the time and, you'll never be successful if you're not constantly at work and get 4 hours of sleep a night. And, you like that's great for them, but that's not a lifestyle for everybody. Like that's a lifestyle that they chose. I don't think you can force yourself into that lifestyle. I think you have to want that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think along the lines of social media, yeah, you do see that a lot, especially with people who claim to be these coaches that can help you run your business and everything. I think a lot of the people that follow them, like their audience, is attracted to the work aspect. Like they're attracted to that. And so they just keep on creating more content that is like making them look like they're working harder than they are. And they just keep doing that over and over again. And then, what are they actually accomplishing? Are they actually chasing their dreams, or are they just feeding off of the audience and
are they just chasing the next
all
dollar?
These comments? And
are you telling me that social media is not 100% authentic?
You know what? I might be onto something
here. I think you're onto something here.
But yeah, that's a great point too, because again, what have we said in the past? What do you see on social media? You see the best parts of everybody's life.
Highlights.
Like these entrepreneurs who come on and talk. They talk about all the good parts, and they talk about I went on my vacation to Tahiti, and I did this and I did that, and it's all because I work hard 100% of the time and no sleep and blah blah blah. You don't see the other side of that. You don't, and not to say that they didn't put in that hard work. I'm sure they did, but you don't see what that hard work looks like until you get there, and then you don't get a clear-cut view of, wow, this is actually a lot more than it seemed like it was.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like with the whole hard work, work until you drop, then no days off. I feel like all of that is attractive to a lot of young people. So then what do? They start grinding it out, and they start chasing that. And then once they actually discover, we're kind of like romanticizing the hard work and the grind and like the sleepless days. That stuff doesn't feel good. It sucks. No. Like when you're in it, you just want to be out of it. So a lot of these young people, they're, myself included, I've chased something in the past, and I've worked really hard, lost sleep over it, put my health at risk, and then I realized, like, once I was in it, I'm like, I do not enjoy this. Like, the end goal for me wasn't enough to get me through the hard times. Mm-hmm. So I feel like all these entrepreneurs that are on social media that are like spitting out all these quotes, like trying to motivate, kids, they're kind of coming at it from the wrong angle. Like they're coming at it from the work aspect, when these kids, they don't even know what their dream is. They don't even know what their life goals are. Like they've never sat down and wrote down on a piece of paper in a journal, like, this is what I want to do in life, and this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm willing to do to make sure that happens.
Yeah,
like,
that's huge.
You need to do that before you even think about, losing sleep.
Yeah,
like a week.
Yeah, that's
in a
huge
row.
Because I think a lot of people don't look at that. I think they look at the end goal only, and they don't look at what it takes to get there. And then suddenly you're halfway through, you're past that point of no return, and you realize, hey, this end goal is not worth it. It's not worth what I'm putting into it.
Exactly. Pour all your heart out into something that you don't want in the end, and that is going to tear you down. You're going to look back and think that's going to break you down. That's where you think, oh, I wasted so much time in my life.
I think that happens so much with college.
Ooh, great example.
I think you're like, when you think, I know I've said this in the past again, but I think a lot of our themes intertwine with each other. But you ask 18-year-old kids to decide what they want to do for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
and
wait, can
there's
we?
So much pressure to go to school.
Yeah, let's just use. I want to use myself as an example here.
Yeah. Please.
At 18 years old, I decided that the job I wanted for the rest of my life was to be a civil engineer. 2 years later, I left that school and pursued a healthcare degree. Got the degree, worked in healthcare for 5 years, and now I work for a railroad.
Just
And I'm
everywhere.
28. So like,
Yep.
and do I know if this is what I want to do the rest of my life? I mean, I'm 2 months into it, and granted, I really like it so far, and I've done some really cool stuff, and I find the job a lot of fun. But you know, what am I gonna say in a year, 2 years, 5 years from now? Right.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I think
Maybe
you
you'll
never
write a
know.
book and retire.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
But I think that goes to show is you don't always know what your path is going to be. And I think to ask that of someone so young, 17, 18-year-old kids, you know, what do you want to do the rest of your life? They don't know. Like, they don't have the slightest clue of no. They don't have, like, you know, and some people do. I shouldn't say nobody. A lot, there's a portion that do, and they're lucky. But I think a lot more people than you expect fall into the same boat. And again, that's another societal pressure is you got to go to college.
It's a huge societal pressure.
Yeah, and I don't always think that's the case. I think there's a lot to be said for some of the other job fields outside of going to college. And I think there's a lot of college degrees that you get that unfortunately are more about the college making money than you actually getting a useful degree that you're going to be able to apply in the real world.
Yeah, and I think that's the why factor right there. It's like, why does society force school down further education, college, down high schoolers' throats? And not to sound narcissistic, but I do think it is about money, or cynical, I should say. And that's not to discourage anyone from going to school at all.
Absolutely not.
It's huge, and especially if you know what you want. It's funny because you look back, like when I was 18, or a lot of other people, like you think you have the world figured out, right? You're like, oh, I'm about to get out of high school, about to be a legal adult. It's like, I know what I want to do. Your life changes so much from then on out, from every year after that. And your goals back then are not your goals 1, 2, 3 years in the future. And so do not try to let that pressure of everyone saying you have to go to college, you have to go to college. Don't let that force you into a position that you don't want to be in. Go when you feel what you want to do is right, pretty much. You know, if you have to hold off for school for a few years, hold off. Go get a job, work in the fields, do whatever you want to do. And then when you actually think like this, you find something that you want to pursue, go for it. Even if that requires school, absolutely go for it. If it doesn't, then even better.
Yeah. And so now I want to kind of circle this back in to the overall topic, right? So now you go to college, and even if you don't end up in a situation like mine where like my college degrees don't really apply too much to what I'm doing for work, even if you are somebody like, say you go to college to be a doctor, you go like 8-9 years of school, hundreds of thousands of dollars that you have to pay for this. And like, college is not what it used to be. Like, I talked to my mom, and she talks about, you know, the amount of money that she would pay. She would pay like, it was like $6,000 total for a college semester when she went to school.
Must be nice.
Like,
Must be nice.
something manageable you could pay off. Like, the college debt is so crazy now. I think that's another place where people feel like they're forced to be productive all the time because they feel like they need to make every last dollar. They need to milk everything they can out of every minute of the day because they'll never be able to get out from under this burden looming over them of this college debt.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you hear about these people with so much college debt that it's been like 20 years and they still haven't paid it off. And it's way more than they thought it was. And I mean, you almost have, like, when you're going through college, depending on where you go and how much it is, you sometimes have to get 2 or 3, 1 or 2 jobs at least to just like pay it off as you go. And I think that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
but then
college
again,
is probably gonna suck for a while.
And again, look at that. You have now a full-time class schedule, homework, studying, and 2 jobs. to try and
This is true.
to
It's a
get this
lot.
done. And look where you've fallen into. You're back into this, I have to be productive all the time,
All the time.
get no sleep kind of cycle. And I think
Yeah.
that's what I think it wears a lot of people down. I think it wears on people. You just have to be careful.
I mean, I think that's why maybe, I didn't go to college, so I don't, take from this what you will. But that's why, Joe, it might be good to, wait a few years to decide what you want and to become crystal clear in your vision. And that way, when you're grinding it out through college and trying to pay as you go, then you have that motivation to stick through with it.
Exactly.
It's gonna suck, but unfortunately right now with how much schooling costs, that's what you got to do if you're gonna be smart with it, or unless your parents are gonna help you pay.
Yeah.
I have friends who've switched majors 2, 3, 4 times and still don't know if that's what they want to do for the rest of their lives.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that pressure thing, I've been there. I did community college only 2 years, but for the time being, I was working 2 separate jobs, going to school full time at one point. And it's stressful to the point where I think it has affected me down the road, right? To where it's like, now I do want to go for my bachelor's degree, but I'm holding off on it because I don't know why I'm holding off on it, actually. It's either because I've done it before and I don't want to put myself in the position where I'm working all the time, or if I'm also just cautious and I want to find something that I know I want to do after the military. Could be both.
I think it's both, and I think maybe there's still a part of you that's deep down not sure.
Exactly.
Maybe you don't need to go at all.
That's true.
You don't know where your military career is going to take you. If you end up doing something that you really like while you're there, pursue it when you get out. You might not need to go to school at all.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, my first degree was in renewable energies. I don't regret taking it, but it's something that I haven't really put to use since, the year before I joined the military.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's something I'm going to chase when I get out.
Yeah.
So, and that was because the pressure, right? The societal pressure told me to go to college. And the only reason I went was because I got a free tuition scholarship.
Yeah.
But, so again, I don't regret going. I think it was good for me. But I only went because it was for free.
Yeah. All right. Unless, Jared, you got anything else to say on that? Because I want to switch the flip here a little bit.
Yeah.
Switch the flip.
Let's switch the flip. I want to ask you guys, what do you think as a society, what would you guys think is the definitions maybe of lazy versus productive? So I think in this lies a lot of the problem as well.
Right. Jared, are you able to go off first on this one?
I can kind of go off if you guys want me
to
get
you go
it
ahead.
rolling a little bit.
Go for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So I think just generally speaking as a culture, I don't think everybody feels this way. I think unfortunately, if you have a day, again, like I did this morning, people view that as lazy. Oh, you should have gotten up and gone to the gym like you said you were going to do. And then transversely, I also think that the definition of productive is you're constantly grinding. I get up, I go to work, I go to the gym, I come home from work, and I have 3 hours left before, say, it's time for me to go to bed. That 3 hours I should be working on the podcast or going out in my wood shop and doing something. And that it's lazy if I'm not doing that. And I think that's where it lies part of the problem. And there's almost a shame in taking a break.
Right. And that, I think, lies the problem, right? Because if you never take time for yourself, you never let your brain relax, you're going to destroy yourself. You're not going to want to do anything even longer.
Right.
Yeah, unless you're built like Elon Musk,
Yeah,
that's true.
And that's very few people out there.
Very few.
And I also think that part of the problem is our laziness is punished a lot more than our productivity is rewarded.
I've never heard more truth in my life.
And I think that's a big problem too. Like I think it's so expected that everyone go above and beyond with like everything that you don't actually ever get that, even pat on the back or, the raise you should get or whatever the case may be in the situation. Like you don't get that, that great feeling of like, man, I went above and beyond and I really got something out of it. But then anytime that you do a little bit less, it's like, oh, you're being lazy. You have to do more work. So I think there's like a really wide gap between where we're kind of like punished for being lazy, but we're also rewarded for being productive. So like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think especially if you get paid salary, you're expected to maybe you're expected to show up to work at 8 and leave at 4:30, but you get all of your work done in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's like you can show this list of work that you've accomplished, but if you leave at 10 because you finished all your work, then people are going to get upset. Even your coworkers, they start to act like lobsters in a bucket and just like pulling you back down because they see that you're at the top of the bucket, like about to get out, and they just want to like grab you, pull you back. It's like, but I already accomplished all this work. I don't need to, like, I don't have any work to do today.
Right. I kind of wish Chris was on for this part of the conversation because if you guys recall,
he would love to talk.
He had this exact thing happen to him not too long ago where he was coming into where he was expected to be there, from I think 8 to 3, 8 to 4, something like that.
8 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
And he would come in and he'd have all his work done by noon, and then when he would go to leave, his superior would be like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Well, I'm done with my stuff for today." And then he'd be like, "Well, no, you need to stay." And Chris would be like, "Well, what do I have to do?" He's like, "Well, even if you just sit here." It's like, well, how does that benefit anybody?
Exactly. You could be much more productive elsewhere.
Right.
And you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs.
Yeah.
It's like you have the time of the day to be productive, and then you have the time of the day to relax.
And I think that comes into where it makes people not want to. Like, I think the push to be productive makes people not want to be productive.
Yeah.
Because then you have like Chris, who got all his work for the day done by noon, who now has to sit there for 4 hours because somebody says that he has to, even though he's done. So now,
why accomplish all your work in 2 hours when you can just spread it out in the span of 8 hours?
Right. It's like, if I'm going to be made to stay here for 8 hours anyway, then I'm going to take 8 hours to do my work. Why would I get it done ahead of time if I have to be here anyway? So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a big part of it too. I think that's another great point. I'm looking at my notes.
Your question about productivity and laziness.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat that? What was that question?
I kind of worded it a little weird, but my question was kind of like, what would you guys say as a society? Like, how do we view the definition of lazy versus like the definition of productive?
Well, productive is just, getting anything done, I think, but like always trying to get stuff done. And I think that's what society wants you to do. Here
and again, here's where I think the problem is. I think productive is I got my work for the day done. Right?
Yeah.
I was supposed to accomplish A, B, and C by the end of today.
I agree.
And I accomplished A, B, and C by the end of today. Therefore, I was productive. I think the problem is, as a culture, the view of productive is if I'm supposed to get A, B, and C done today, I need to be getting A, B, C, D, and E done today.
Indeed.
Right.
Now I think
transverse. Hold on. Let me just go for this real quick, and then we'll talk about it. I think as far as lazy goes, to me, lazy would be like if I'm supposed to get A, B, and C done today, and I get only A or part of A done. Right.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of people view lazy as you got A, B, and C done. Even though it's like, that's what I was supposed to get done today. That was my productive day. And honestly, in most cases, like you also never know how the day is going to go. Like especially at my job, if I'm supposed to get A, B, and C done, and I only get A and B done, that was probably still a productive day. Because there's a lot of stuff to do.
You at least you accomplished something.
Right. So I think that's a big part, because they're like, again, going back to what I said before, there's a big gap between what we view as productive and what we view as lazy. There's not a lot of middle ground.
Mm-hmm. It makes me wonder if we make this decision in our own head, right? I
think
don't
it's
know.
part of it, but I think it also comes from the top down.
Right.
I think you work for, I think a lot of especially when you work for corporations, and it was something I dealt with a lot at my last job, where, again, you would get A, B, C, D, and E done in a day, and instead of it being like, wow, that's great, it's almost just like what was expected. But then if you only get A, B, and C done, they're like, well, you need to do more. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to get patients scheduled faster and get more co-pays taken and this and that. And now suddenly you're asking, a lot of one person when it should be the work of two or three, but they want one person to get it done.
Yeah, especially if you have the extra time with the day. If you get A, B, and C done and you have the time, but you're like, you know what, I busted my ass trying to do A, B, and C, but nobody sees how hard you work to get it done. They just see that you have free time to, like, get more done.
Exactly.
You have the time.
And again, like I say, it comes from the top down. That's because a lot of the people who are making these decisions at jobs don't see the physical work. They see
the
what their
results.
spreadsheets and their numbers tell them, and then they say, well, we want more. They don't see how much work went into what those numbers and spreadsheets say. They only see what the spreadsheets say. They don't see how hard those people worked to get to that point. So then when they come in and they say, okay, you guys did this quarter, next quarter we want this, it's like, we killed ourselves to get that this quarter, but you don't know that because you weren't here.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that's every company, though. I'm trying to think from the boss's point of view.
Right.
Like, of course you want things to be you want better systems that allow tasks to be accomplished faster and more efficiently.
I agree.
I do think there's some bad bosses out there.
I think there's a lot.
Never visit the workplace, who never actually see the work getting done.
And that's what I'm saying. If this is what you want, then you come in and you watch me work and you tell me how to do it better.
Yeah.
Don't just arbitrarily tell me how to do it better because your numbers dictate that.
I'm having trouble articulating my thoughts on this one. I think there's some confusion between productivity and busy work. I think that's been constantly coming back up in my mind throughout this discussion. I feel like it needs to be said. Are you actually being productive and working towards getting a goal done, or are you just being busy? Are you just trying to look busy? Right. What are you actually doing?
Well, that's part of it too. That is a part of it too. That's an individual problem.
Yeah, and I mean that could be, you could view that as lazy too. If you're just trying to look busy, your coworkers can see through that.
Yeah. And that is lazy.
That's 100%.
That is lazy. And I have personally worked with people who do that when you have stuff that is priority that has to get done, and you're doing those priority issues or priority things, and then you look at your coworker and they're kind of like doing things, like you said, just to stay busy, so that at the end of the day they can say, oh, well, I did all these things, but at the end of the day it's like, okay, but that's not what needed to get done.
Yeah. To answer your question, I think my view of productivity is progressively working towards a worthy ideal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing in that sentence that says anything about how much work you need to get done. There's nothing in that sentence that says anything about a time frame. So it's all down to you, what you think. You know, do you think you're gonna die tomorrow? Well, then maybe you shouldn't be working towards anything. Maybe you should just be relaxing,
living life.
But no, I mean, if you think society is in a good place and we're gonna last for quite a while longer, then yeah, I mean, go at whatever pace you want to go to accomplish this worthy ideal. And I think it's all up to you.
Yeah. And I think before we wrap up, that would be kind of the overall message is it's not even about, you know, again, taking time for yourself, but it's a lot about doing what you think you need to do. You are the one who dictates your life, not other people. So I think as long as you are getting done what you think you need to get done, that's all that really matters. If you're doing things at a pace that you think you need to do, and granted now, that don't mean that if your boss comes to you and says, I need this project on my desk by Friday, that doesn't mean that you go, well, I think for my personal time frame, it would be fine if I got it to him by next Wednesday. No, like that means you need to get it done by Friday. But I think overall spectrum is you do things at your own pace in your own way as far as your life goes.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I think I actually have a lot of strong feelings on this whole topic. But I'm trying to think of what actually holds value and would provide value to this conversation.
Well, what do you mean? Like if you have stuff that's contradictory, go for it. Let's
absolutely
have a conversation.
Well, I think because we're kind of talking about, well, productivity goes along with working, and working goes along with, you know, what are you working towards? What goal are you trying to achieve? And I think that, yeah, it's okay to take time off and to get some work done at a leisurely pace. But I think it all comes down to kind of justifying your existence.
Okay.
Like I think that everyone, if you are blessed with a life on this earth, then I do think you should justify your existence, and that requires working towards something. You know, I don't think you should aimlessly grind for the hopes that people will notice you and praise you and give you attention. Yeah. I think you should find a worthy ideal that is worth working towards for you, and then you should put in the work to make that happen. Well, you should first make that crystal clear. That way, when you're going through hard times, it gives you something to work for. It gives you something to live for. If it comes down, like if you're that deep in the pits, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great. I think that point honestly drives home more of what we had to say than anything than contradicts it. Because, you know, again, like I can use my last job as an example. Like I felt like I was grinding and busting my hump for something I really didn't care about. Like, why would I do that?
This is something that you like constantly talked about too. It's like you knew it was a problem.
Yeah. So like, why would I do that? And now I feel like with the job that I'm in currently, I feel like the things I'm working towards not only benefit the company I'm working for, but also benefit me as a whole, and they push me forward, which makes me want to do these things. You know? Like it makes me I think a lot of it is the want to be productive.
Right, rather
but
than
for
being
what
pressured
reason?
to be.
Exactly. Well, that's that. Yeah, that reason's
for your
individual
own,
to you.
For your own,
Yeah.
For your own personal reason of this vision that you have.
Right.
Yeah. So we're kind of arguing about the difference between why you're doing something, like why you're grinding it out,
Right.
basically. Like, are you doing it for a reason that you believe in, or are you doing it just because you saw some influencers on TikTok or YouTube and you want to be like them?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, but like I feel like I almost feel like you're not convinced in what you're saying, but I feel like the things that you're saying were the whole reason I wanted to like do this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, again, I think people get influenced by a lot of the things they see without realizing what they have to put into it. Without, I know we're circling back to what we talked about before, but bear with me. Without realizing what goes into it, without realizing what it's going to do to them physically and mentally, without realizing that it's not necessarily what they want, and then you just kind of fall into this drone cycle.
They make it seem like the only way to have any success in your life is to just be successful, to be in the grinds, to lose sleep. And they're circling back around. Yeah. They're coming at it from the wrong angle. You know, you need to discover what you want first,
right?
Before you can grind it out,
right? It
stuff.
worked.
Like that's success.
It
finding
worked
out
for them.
Yeah. Finding out what you want to do in life is like that's possibly your greatest success.
Yeah, it worked for them because they found it.
Yeah.
Right. They found it, they wanted it, and like they found that thing that makes them happy, that it doesn't seem like work because it's what they want to do. You can't just go on like, and I think it's like you said, they take it from the wrong point of view where they just tell you have to just work. It's like, well, yeah, you do, but it only works if it's something you like. Like, you like what you're doing, so it works great for you. If I'm doing that with something that I don't like, it's just going to be a burden.
Yeah.
And you're just going to burn out.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of it comes from.
Yeah. That's what I did with personal training.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I did that exact thing. I just worked for hours a day studying to try to get my certification, just like gaining all this knowledge, which was great. I enjoyed it. So maybe that does hold some weight. If you kind of have an idea, if there's something that you enjoy, because, you know, I actually started doing it and I went through with it. I got my certification. I started training people, and then I discovered I didn't like it. So it can help if you have some sort of idea of what you want to do.
Yeah. And that's also where you have to choose.
Because I'm glad that I figured out that I didn't enjoy doing that. I'm glad that I put in a lot of that work earlier on so I could start doing that earlier and then realize, hey, this isn't for me. And then I can put it behind me, and, you know, I still enjoy it to an extent. Like, I enjoy knowledge and all that space.
Right.
But now I have the capacity to move on to the next thing.
Yep. And again, that's where the choice comes in. Do you start over? Like, you did this thing, you found you don't like it. Do you push through it just because, you know, you're already there, or do you start over and find something that you're passionate about that works for you?
I started over. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it sucks. Like, it feels like I wasted 2 years, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have all these skills now. I developed skills along the way, and I have knowledge that I'm going to carry through for the rest of my life. But
right.
If you don't enjoy it, then how are you, like, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if you don't see a real reason to doing that for the rest of your life, then whenever it gets, like, the going gets rough, you're not going to be able to do it, or you're just going to be miserable. And what kind of life is that?
Well, I think that's a good place to stop
I agree.
after that. Cool.
That was a lot.
So yeah, we talked about a lot of good stuff today. I know we kind of almost changed topics, maybe you could say, partway through. But hey, that's
Yeah, a little
sometimes how these things go. But I
It's a
think
conversation.
yeah, exactly. It's a conversation. But I think it's important to make sure that you like what you're doing and to make sure that you're not letting outsiders influence your decisions. You got to remember at the end of the day, you are you and you have to do what's right for you, not what everybody else says is right for you. So, with that being said, Jared, why don't you take us home, brother?
All right. This has been Lessons Learned. Thank you for tuning in. Vote on which costume you like the best.
Oh,
I feel like we should all stand up a little bit.
show it off.
I don't have my pants on. Well, not like no pants. I don't have my Uncle Sam pants on, is what I should say.
Yeah. Oh, hit the mic.
Top of the morning. Top of the morning.
Jared went
top of
all
the
out.
morning.
Jared's got the whole outfit on.
Everyone knows I'm better.
I'll have to try and post a thing of him taking like 20 minutes trying to put it on. Yeah.
All right.
No, he took it off. Didn't even make it through the episode and he took it off.
Yeah, this has been Lessons Learned. I actually already have the trophy.
Oh yeah, he did. He won a trophy.
I got my
for his
own. I got
costume.
my own Dundee Award.
He won the
is not
trophy
fair.
for his costume. So voters, let's get an upset
Let's
here.
change that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Underdogs. Root for the underdogs.
For the underdogs. Yeah. So these. I mean, yeah. This has been Lessons Learned. This was our Halloween episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this, we have more content. We have a bunch of other videos on YouTube and Spotify. You can check out our link in the description to our Linkfolio account, where we have all of our social media pages, where you can find different videos and episodes. And you can also find our social media pages in there. So check it out. And thank you for watching. Until next time, we'll
See ya.
See ya.